So this Shabbos is known as Shabbos Hagadol, the Great Shabbos. The Rishonim in the Medrash explains that the reason why it's called that is because the 10th of Nisan, that year that we left Mitzrayim, it fell on a Shabbos. And the 10th of Nisan was the day where the Jewish people were commanded to take a sheep and to prepare it for the Karban Pesach that would be brought that Erev Pesach. And so the Medrash says that when the Mitzrayim saw the Jewish people preparing these sheep, and they asked them, why are you doing this? And the response was to prepare it to be a sacrifice for the Bnei Shalom. Now the Mitzrayim, one of their idols was the sheep, so they were obviously very upset by this, but they didn't say anything, it didn't stop the Jews from doing it, and that miracle of the Egyptians allowing us to prepare the sheep for the Karban Pesach, that was a great miracle, and we celebrate that by calling it Shabbos Hagadol. So the question is obvious. Of all the miracles that we commemorate around Pesach, the Makkos and Kriyas Yamsuf and so on, of all of that, the great miracle, the one miracle that's called great, is the fact that the Egyptians allowed us to prepare the sheep for the Karban Pesach without saying anything. That's the Nes Gadol. It seems a little bit, in comparison to the other miracles, it seems quite small. So many Jews have a custom Seder night that when we say the Eser Makkos, the 10 plagues, there's a custom of pouring the wine. Some people use their finger to pour a little drop of wine for each makkah. Why? So there's a number of reasons. One of the famous reasons that's given is to show empathy and rachmanis for the Egyptians who suffered with these makkahs. Now that's a very strange thing. Why would we show any rachmanis, any sympathy to our enemies? I mean, Chazal say someone who has compassion on people that are cruel ends up having cruelty to those that are compassionate. We generally understand that if the Rebbeinu Shalom brought 10 plagues upon the Egyptians, clearly they deserved it. So why are we showing any level of mourning even, or even sympathy for these people? The answer is what we're being taught by these minhagim, by Shabbos Hagadol, and by pouring the wine for the Eser Makkos, is that the ultimate goal is not just for the Jewish people to be redeemed. This is a mistake that very often people make, which is that when we think of Mashiach, we think of redemption, we think of the world becoming the place that it's supposed to become, we think of the Jewish people being in a state of peace and comfort and tranquility. The ultimate goal is not just for the Jewish people. The ultimate goal is for all of humanity to realize the truth of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and for the Jewish people to take their role in terms of being the heart of all humanity, in terms of being the people that are charged with educating, of bringing God's light to the world. But the ultimate goal is for all of humanity to realize the truth. And although the Jewish people were sort of born on Pesach, the fact that the Egyptians had to be beaten into submission to allow us to become our people is tragic. Because what that means is that we're not yet holding by Mashiach. Because Mashiach would mean that the Egyptians themselves would embrace the Jewish people in their role. And the Egyptians themselves would embrace the education that the Jewish people would offer to them. And our hope towards Mashiach, when we daven for Mashiach, it's not just about the Jewish people taking her role in world history, but it's about all of humanity embracing that and allowing the Jewish people to teach and to bring light of the Rebbeinu Shalom to the world, and all of humanity to be uplifted. And so on Pesach, although we're celebrating the birth of the Jewish people, we have to always be cognizant of the fact that this is not it. The ultimate goal is not for the Jewish people to be raised up and the Egyptians to be beaten. The ultimate goal is for the Jewish people to be raised up and to bring light to the rest of humanity. And therefore, the Seder night, we pour wine out to remind ourselves how this is not the way it's supposed to be yet. This is the beginning. Pesach is the beginning. But the goal is that everyone should be on board. All of humanity should be on board. Shabbos Hagadol, the great miracle of Shabbos Hagadol that brings us into Pesach, is giving us a little bit of a taste of what that's going to be like when Mashiach comes. See, this was the moment, what was the miracle of Shabbos Hagadol? That the Egyptians allowed us to bring the Karban Pesach. It was the one time they didn't have to be beaten into submission. They didn't have to have a plague forcing them to allow us. On their own, they allowed us. Although they were upset about it, and certainly, there's many more ways to go. But at least it was a taste. It was a beginning of us being able to see a little bit of what the future holds for us, which is not just the Jewish people being free, but all of humanity to embrace the role of the Jewish people and to allow the Jewish people to bring God's light to the whole world. And that's the beginning of what we taste by Shabbos Hagadol. Hashem should help. Hashem should help that we should be Zaycha this Shabbos to be able to to merit, to be able to experience that ultimate end of where all of humanity is brought under one canopy. L'das as Hashem Yisparach through the power and through the holiness of the Jewish people. B'yeskal tzedek, b'meher v'yimeinu, amen.
Thank you, Hashem.